All right, welcome over to Slabs and Sketches over here. We have a first time guest on Fortney, right?
Forney, yes.
Yep. All right, so Sean is comic artist, correct?
Yes.
All right, so I'll let Sean kind of dig into a little bit of his background real quick, and kind of give us a little brief description of what he's done, maybe some additional past artwork that he's put through, and then we'll kind of ask some questions away. So,
All right. I've been doing this a little over 20 years. Started working on some independent books really early on, like right out of college, whatever. And as I was kind of starting out doing freelance stuff, my wife and I started self-publishing our comic, Scarlet Huntress. First like short story we did for independent publisher based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I think we that was released in like early 2004, and um, since then we finished off our first story arc for Scarlet Huntress a couple years ago. We did 5 issues over the course of at that point in time. I think it was a course of like 18 years, something of that nature, as because I would work on them in between other projects and stuff. So it took a while to get all the books out. Just last year, we started Volume 2. I'm currently working on the second issue of Volume 2. And then, that's kind of the self-publishing thing that we've been doing, like I said, for like the last 20 some years or whatever. I've also freelanced and worked on all sorts of stuff over uh, comic books, kids books, sketch cards, trading cards, toy packaging. I
man, you've
spent
done it all.
a little bit of everything. Yeah. I worked on packaging art and the trading cards for Bakugan the first time around from like 2007 or 2008 through like 2011, I think. Did that for pretty consistent time period there. Um, but I've worked on like some licensed stuff for Marvel, doing sketch cards and children's books. Um, Done a handful of variant covers for a variety of uh, smaller publishers, whatnot. And a lot of folks are probably familiar with my work, working with Marat Michaels for like the last, I think we're on like year 11 or 12 now. We've been working on a book called Do You Pooh? It's a parody book of Winnie the Pooh characters. The first one is basically like the Deadpool origin story, but just swap out all the characters for Winnie the Pooh characters.
So,
And
so
we,
obviously Deadpool is Winnie.
yes, yeah,
All
and
right.
then it's like it kind of trades off. The interiors of the book they're all a mishmash of characters. Like trying to think, like Rabbit usually shows up as Batman, and Piglet
Jeez.
most of the time is like Captain America and stuff like that. Um, and we've done, I think the count is something like 3,000 covers that we've done for the Do You Poo books. Um,
Jesus.
yeah, we like just this week we knocked out like 5 of them. Because like all sorts of retailers want them for. We've got MegaCon and WonderCon coming up middle and end of March, so
Mm-hmm.
we were trying to finish up all the stuff for the various retailers and one of their exclusives. So like I said, that was 5 this week, and there's been weeks where we've done close to like a dozen covers in a week. It's craziness.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it. So, like, Marvel sketch cards is like obviously in the tops Marvel, correct?
This was actually Upper Deck before Tops had the
Okay.
license.
Okay. All right.
Um, I did that for I want to say like 4 or 5 years. I did a handful of sketch cards over the course of like that time frame. Um, I worked on a Deadpool set, Spider Man, No Way Home, I think it was. I did set. Did Marvel Masterpieces. Did there was a I can't remember the name of it, but there was a Marvel set that was like it focused on all the characters from like early Marvel before they were really Marvel. It was like the Timely Comics era basically
Mm-hmm.
because it was like the Wizard and like Namor and like all the original first run characters that they did. Um, Also, like I think the last set of sketch cards I worked on for them was I got asked to do Goonies. Um,
Boy.
and I'm a big nut for the Goonies, so when they sent that email, it's like I was kind of done with sketch cards at that point, but I was like, you know what? I love the Goonies, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a handful of these.
Right.
Um, so yeah, like I said, I've done a little bit of everything, dabbled in this and that over like the last 20 some years.
It's awesome. So you've been in the game for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Shoot, probably you 2/3 of my life. Shoot. So obviously comic art can be labor intensive.
Yes.
So what's an average work day look like for you?
I usually try to start about 8 or 9 in the morning most mornings if my dogs cooperate and let me get into the studio and start working. And then I'll usually work. My wife's a teacher, so she's usually home like 3:30. So I'll usually work until she gets home. And our most recent thing is we try to go to the gym a few days a week. So it's she'll get home, take a break, go to the gym, come back, and then I'll maybe sit at the desk for a little while. On average, I usually spend probably about 10, 12 hours a day working, depending on what's required of me based on whatever projects I'm working on or whatnot.
Right. So how tight are those deadlines normally? Like from the time you start to you got to have it completed by.
Sometimes they can be pretty crazy. Like I said, working with Marat this week, we were trying to knock out some covers to get him to the printer. So it started last Sunday. I got a text from him in the afternoon. He's like, "I'm working on a cover right now. I need it as soon as you can get it." He's like, "I'm keeping in mind that it's Sunday." Um, so I said, just we were out with some friends hanging out for a little bit, and I said I'll be home in a few hours. I'll get started on it, and he was still working on the line art for it. He wanted me to color it, so I I shot him a message. I think it was like 8 o'clock my time, and he's in I think Vegas if I'm not mistaken. So he's like 2 3 hours
Right.
behind me time wise. So I'm like, I'll try to get whatever I can knocked out tonight. He's like, I'll have it to you in a little bit. He's like, tomorrow's fine. Just get it to me as early as you can. So I think I had it finished by like 10 in the morning, and it was like off to the printer, and it's like, and we've done that a number of times where it's we need to bust out a cover because we're trying to either get something ready for a show or a lot of times it is trying to like hit that big like pop culture trend that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, during the pandemic, everybody was all over watching Tiger King. We
Yeah.
knocked out three Do You Poo Tiger King covers in a course of like a week or something. And it was you're trying to hit that thing just at the right time where it's gonna catch people and sell and whatever.
Right.
So there's a lot of times where it's a very quick turnaround, and he often jokes with a lot of the retailers when they're ready to do something. He's like, I'll draw the cover, and he's like, I'll get it to Sean, and it's like we've got it done by noon, and it does happen that way at times. Thankfully, not everything is that tight of a deadline. Most of the time, depending on what it is, it's like a week, couple weeks,
Okay.
for like covers and pinups, that kind of stuff. Books usually like a month or so, but I've had deadlines where it's been especially with doing coloring. Um, it's basically get a 20 some page book done in 2 weeks, and it's 5 or 6 pages a day to be able to keep up with the schedule, get it done, and
Yeah, that's a grind.
yes,
I
yes.
mean, I'm no artist by no means, right? But like, yeah, that just sounds like a grind. I
Yeah,
can only
it can
imagine.
be. It can be. But I enjoy doing this stuff. Not gonna lie, there's times where it's not fun, but it's I'm getting to do what I love. So, take the good with the bad or whatever, however you want to put that.
So, are you on like digital then? Like how are you guys doing it? Digital or actual straight like board and brush type paper pen?
A bit of both.
Okay.
Especially like using the poo stuff for an example. A lot of times he draws it on paper.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's inked on paper. Sometimes it's inked digitally. And then I do the coloring digitally. Um, a lot of the cover work that I do for various projects, my own projects, whatever, I still prefer to draw pencil and paper. And then it's just kind of a toss up of whether I want to ink it traditionally or do it digitally. And pretty much everything I do as far as color work goes, unless it's a like a con sketch or a commission or something, most like 9 times out of 10, my coloring is digital. Um, Faster process, get better end results when it goes to print. But sometimes there's that call for actually having to break out markers, watercolors, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, no, because I know this. There's some paper and then a lot of electronics and so on and so forth. I didn't know if there was an actual standard on how things had to be done or not.
Not too much anymore since printing has evolved so much over the last like 30 years. It's they can pretty much reproduce anything.
Okay,
Um, so yeah, it's kind of a wide open game now.
gotcha. So every artist has a specific thing that they hate drawing, potentially. What are some of yours? And how have you found a way to cheat your way through it? Hands, horses, backgrounds. Those are just some type of examples, I guess, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, hands are always a bear. It's like one of those things where it's like they're right in front of you, so it's like you know what they should look like and whatever. And sometimes, man, the angles of like trying to get something just right, it's like just just doesn't work. And it's it's just the struggle and grind through it to get something that looks like a good end product. Um, I don't know. There's times where it's stuff gets frustrating of trying to draw like a particular pose or whatever.
Right.
Um, there's not a whole lot that I'll sit there and be like I absolutely hate drawing this, but it just kind of I guess depends on the situation, whatever comes up. Where it's like I'm not feeling this today. It's like I did that actually last week. I was working on a commission, uh, and I thumbnailed out a bunch of poses that I wanted to use for the commission, and it's just none of them felt right. Didn't feel like the character or whatever. And it was like I sat here and just like kept trying to muscle my way through it. And it was actually my wife called. She was like on her way home, and she was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to work on this commission. I just can't get it." She's like, "Take a
Take
break.
a break.
Go do something else for a little bit." And I did. I think that was one of the days. Like went to the gym for a couple hours, got back. It's like, okay, now I got a better idea of what I want to do.
Had to clear the
Got it knocked
mind.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Um so yeah, you got your 20 years into it, but if you had to look back 5 years ago, what's a cringe moment or the biggest improvement that you've noticed from 5 years ago?
Okay, so like 5 years ago, we were like a almost a year into the whole pandemic thing,
Uh-huh.
and that was eye opening in so many different ways. Because for myself and most everybody else I know that does this, we all went into panic mode because for a lot of us, a good chunk of making income for the year is doing comic book conventions, and all that stuff was
Mhm.
shut down. It wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So we were, every one of us were just sweating bullets. And um, a huge shout out to like again Marat, who I've worked with for like over the last decade, and folks like Clan McDonald Comics. Um, they had been, at least in my opinion, and what was in my purview of doing all this stuff, they had really uh, kind of found a way to work in doing what everybody does now, live sales, doing like Facebook, and then what has evolved into doing
Whatnot
Whatnot and
and
eBay
yep.
Live and stuff. These guys were doing that a few years before that, and it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, I got to figure out some way to keep income flowing in. And again, those guys were great at not only I had picked up a lot of stuff from them to be able to like, okay, we're gonna start doing Facebook live sales, having basically a convention in our living room, but also like Clan McDonald set up a sketch op at some point during that, and so many like basically all the comic book shops they had shut down. They
Right.
most of the
They
publishers. They
They were
they did
deemed non-essential in a
right.
sense. Yeah.
And most of the publishers are like, okay, everybody put your pencils down. We aren't doing anything for a while. So all these comic shops are panicking too. They're like, how are we going to make money? So they wanted to start doing the online sales. They don't have any new product. Nobody's putting out books. So um, partially feel a little bit responsible for we kept a handful of comic shops in business because not only were we cranking out a bunch of Do You Poo variant covers that they could sell to their fan base, but we actually ended up putting together a new issue of the book. Like since you can't because it's a parody thing, you can't do like an issue two. So we did a different story, and Marat hired me to do all the interior artwork and stuff. And so it was like not only was like I was getting paid to actually produce the book, but we were also putting the book together that retailers could sell and keep them going, keep them afloat. And so like those things were like I said, they were eye opening. It's like okay, this is what we need to dive into to keep afloat until this whole thing turns around. Um, and also Kickstarter just took a giant leap during that time because everybody was hungry for some sort of content, and we had been producing our book off and on like every couple of years, and we'd done a couple of Kickstarters, but we really pushed harder to finish up the story arc we wanted to do, and I think we ended up over the course of like you were asking like the last 5 years. I think we've run 4 or 5 Kickstarters to produce the new books. Plus, we did a kind of a companion book to our book, Scarlet's Field Guide to Cryptids and Other Creatures. Our character's a modern day descendant of Little Red Riding Hood. She hunts werewolves and all sorts of other cryptids and all these creatures. And in the story, she keeps a journal of everything she comes across. So we had done an earlier version of this journal back in, I think it was 2009. And at the time, there wasn't crowdfunding. There wasn't a way to do it other than fund it ourselves. So I think it was like 48 pages, and it was all black and white. It was what was affordable at the time for us to do.
Right.
Kickstarter allowed us to, do the individual issues of the comic, and we decided, okay, let's redo this journal and run the Kickstarter, do this whole mess. And so we brought on, I think we had like 16 of our friends contribute artwork and stories and this kind of thing. And we took
Heck
what
yeah.
was like a 40-page book and we turned it into like an 84-page book. And we went all out with the printing. We did soft touch on the cover, and it's perfect bound. It ended up being a very nice finished product when it was all said and done. And again, it was like it was just kind of having to evolve through the whole thing of the pandemic that kind of made us like rethink of some of the ways we were doing stuff. And it's always evolving as we go through every year. It's like something will change, something will be hot, and then other stuff kind of dies off, whatever.
It's up, down, all
Yeah,
over the place.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's always trying to find that moving target and try to figure out okay, what's going to be the next thing that we need to do. And so yeah, it was an eye opening experience, and it's definitely helped us along the way.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what your guys' time was like during that time frame.
It was nutty. It was
Ah,
I
I
started I
thought
started work.
I thought
Go
me and
ahead.
manufacturing was bad. Like,
Huh?
automotive, like it went down for a while, and you're just like, well, yeah, no one's buying cars. No one can even go to the dealership without, no one's there.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah,
I could only imagine, yeah, because I mean, I've been to a couple Comic Cons or card shows and whatnot. Yeah, that's a big deal for a lot of people, especially in your guys' world, right?
yeah, yeah. So
Didn't
yeah,
even
it was
think about that. Holy
yeah, and
smokes.
and a lot of folks didn't, and I kept getting the questions like when we go to cons after the fact, be like, "Oh, what did you do during the pandemic?" I'm like, nothing really changed. I'm still doing the same thing I was doing, just working more. It's like that's our usual livelihood is sitting in the studio for X amount of hours per day. It's we don't see the outside world a whole lot. This is kind of our norm. Um, it was interesting though because like I said, my wife's a teacher and school was shut down, so she was stuck at home and they started doing all the stuff for remote learning, all the stuff from home, and the kids didn't have like they weren't at school from 7 till 3 or something. It
Right.
was they just did the work whenever they felt like it. So like I'm pretty standard. Like I will normally stay up late if I don't have an excuse to have to be up early. So it was like our like working day shifted later and later, and it was like she was still getting kids turning in assignments at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and it would be like, okay, yeah, we're still up, but like, no, we gotta find a better schedule for this.
Oh yeah, I couldn't even imagine. Um, so how do you approach casting your character, and then how do you um cast like their facial expressions or like their poses and all the other different scenarios of your characters?
Just try to uh, make it unique. At the same time, like still trying to keep my like stylized version of what the characters look like to me on the page, or whatever the end product is. Um, and try to put thought into what the character is, what not only what they look like, but how would they act, how would they respond. So that's where it comes into with like how would they pose, and it's like just trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to convey whether it's an emotion or they're getting ready to fight or whatever. And also trying to keep it in the back of my head. It's like, okay, I have to like say it's a fight. It's like, okay, they got to get ready to this fighting pose, but it's like it has to be exaggerated. And it's like I got these things running through the back of my head of like um, how to draw the Marvel way. And it's like Stanley and John Buscema explaining like, okay, this is the Marvel way to draw characters, and it's like you have to over exaggerate like everything, because it's like you could draw somebody getting ready to throw a punch, but it's kind of lame if it's just like they're winding up. It's like you really got to exaggerate. You got to really stretch the body and play with the foreshortening and all this kind of craziness, right? And then also I think about like I think it was like Behind the Music or something where they interviewed oh, I'm totally blanking on the name right now. Um, Bruce Dickinson. Um, they, there's an interview about like him performing on stage, and it's like, okay, most people, unless they're right up in front, you're like this big to everybody that's watching the concert. So it's like you have to like really blow up, exaggerate everything. And so it's like try to keep that in mind when I'm doing stuff, to like really exaggerate the expressions or the pose or whatever comes into play. Get that across, because otherwise it just kind of looks boring. And it's like,
Right.
okay, not only do I got to do all that stuff with the characters and whatnot, then I also got to figure out how to tell a story so it still looks interesting, still makes you want to keep looking at the page and travel through the page and actually read it. Um, so there's a lot of like little idiosyncrasies that come into play with like manufacturing it, basically, of like, okay, I got to do all this stuff and then add all this stuff and then keep making sure that you keep going left to right, top to bottom, and then want to turn the page.
Right. I was about to say that's about to lead into my next question. How much do you think about the page turn when you're laying out your panels?
I try to think about it quite a bit, and it's always interesting to figure out, okay, like what's going to be the thing that's like, okay, you get to that last panel on the page, you got to make sure that it's facing the right direction, it's got the right impact, and then it's like, okay, you got to leave like enough hanging to make it again make you flip that page to like
Mm-hmm.
go to the next thing. It's like, and it's not always the easiest, but it's always a like little mind game of figuring out, okay, how can I make this interesting enough or detailed enough or whatever it is to like go, okay, yeah, this I'm happy with this. Now let's build on to the next page, and just keep that process up for the 22, 24 pages or whatever.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely. I mean, yeah, it's kind of based on like the actual reader itself. Like you're worried about that scenario, even though for most of the time you're gonna read the page regardless. Like if you're into the storyline, like,
Right,
but your guys' mind as an artist, you're like, well, how do I keep them here and keep a
right,
story going all at the same time?
right. Yeah, there's so many jobs all rolled into one that a lot of folks probably just gloss over. They don't even think about it. They don't give it a second thought of like, oh, it's like you're trying to tell a story, but it's like you're the actor, you're the art director, you're the director of cinematography, you're this that, all these roles in one, and it can be frustrating at times.
Movie turned into book, but yet instead
Yeah,
of a whole cast line, you're one person.
Yeah, yeah.
When a deadline's looming and the hand might be cramping, how do you find the joy to draw again?
Um, I don't know. I will.
Do you ever cramp? Let's ask that question.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There. I have. I'm probably gonna get grief from somebody about mentioning this, but so like I just finished up 6 months to do a physical therapy because my knee was jacked up. But I found, and it's because I'm sitting at my desk all day drawing, and I don't always sit in the greatest position while I'm working. So that, it happens. So it's not just my hand and shoulder and all that stuff that gets messed up. It's the whole rest of everything else.
And you
And
got to get in that right position and
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's like, if I'm going to sit at the desk for, 8 hours a day or whatever, it's, try to find ways to make it comfortable. And I've learned my lesson the hard way too many times, where it's not only, like I said, I just did all the physical therapy to fix my knee, but I've had, I think I'm up to like 4 times where I've gotten tendonitis in either my shoulder or my bicep because I've been sitting at the desk too long, like drawing, inking, coloring, whatever, and I'll forget to get up and move around and do things that I should be doing because I'm so focused to get kind of get into that laser
locked
focus of
in.
like
Yep.
yeah, it's like I'm in a groove. I'm just gonna keep going, and then I pay for it later. Um, and so there's times where it's like I've had times where it's yeah, it absolutely sucked to sit down and try to work and try to make the best of it, try to figure out workarounds of like, okay, how can I do this comfortably for a little bit, take a break, come back at it. um, and so yeah, sometimes it's that deadline of like, okay, I got to get this done, I've got to find a way to power through it or whatever. And again, I'm always trying to learn that lesson of yeah, it's not always the brightest thing to sit there and power through it, because I had physical therapists yelling at me every time I would sit there and do an exercise and be like, does that hurt? Yeah, stop doing it.
So how much time in between like different drawings or whatnot, like do you normally have like from one book to another book?
It kind of all depends. Like, for like the last couple months, basically, I finished up a project. Actually, so I worked with a buddy of mine. We worked on a project for I was a K-pop singer in China. Um, we did this. I'm trying to. I think it was like 90 pages of. They had a concept for their album, and they wanted to do this whole Halloween thing. And so we worked on that. We wrapped that up in like August. And then I've taken like some little projects here and there, doing covers and doing some color work and stuff. But I've mostly been trying to focus on getting the next issue of our book done, so that we can launch a Kickstarter and get that ready. So I've kind of had like a nice gap in there where it's like, okay, I've taken on some smaller things, done some commissions and stuff that it's allowed me to work on our book. But it's still like that juggling process of like, I can spend a few hours working on a page for our book and then have to jump over and work on the other things. And now, because I'm getting ready to I go to MegaCon, I
End
think
of
like
this
the
month,
18th
right?
of March. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I leave the 18th of March or 16th, one of those days, somewhere in there. I'll be at the show until that Sunday, come back home, and turn around on that following Thursday, leave and go to California for WonderCon. So I'm trying to work ahead and get the commissions that people have already purchased ahead of time for the show, trying to wrap those up, plus juggle the other stuff that I've been working on. So it's a little bit of a crazy period right now of like trying to bounce back and forth between all the different stuff. And like again, I'll go back to like this past week. I colored 5 different covers for all the Pooh stuff. Plus, I did my own Pooh covers for my own variants for both of these shows. So it's like I was juggling pencil, ink, color my own cover, color these covers, get everything off to the printer, and all this mess.
Right,
Um,
cuz pretty much work ain't stopping for you when you're at these cons, right?
yeah, yeah, and it's like there's been a couple of cons where I've taken my iPad, and when there's downtime between anything going on, I've sat there and inked a book.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the nice thing about utilizing that type of technology to do it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, at least you get some time to still work while having fun at the same time.
Yes, yes.
If you could magically steal one specific trait from a legendary artist, past or present, who would it be and why?
Man, I don't know. Um,
I know that's a wide open question.
yeah. Huh. I don't know if I had to like just pick something randomly. It'd probably be something like I guess like because of the way I work and the way I do stuff is like I've always at least in my pictured myself of having like a pretty good work ethic, but being able to like crank out books like Jack Kirby did. I mean, the dude was drawing like 4 books a month. Being able to be that like prolific, I think something like
Right.
that, like to be able to do something like that, you'd almost like not have to think about it. Just be like, touch the page with the pencil and be like, okay, this one's done. On to the next one. Yeah, I think something like that would be pretty useful.
Right. All right, I'm just gonna do a quick rapid fire, and then we'll kind of get into some additional, like, what type of artwork do you got? Like, what have you worked on over the past couple weeks or months? Anything potentially you got going on with MegaCon or whatnot. So we'll get this
Okay.
rapid fire off, and then we'll kind of talk the rest of the show out, whatnot. What's your favorite pen, brush, or stylus? Or do
Stylus
you
is
have a favorite?
yeah, I do. I'm very particular when it comes to that stuff. As far as stylus goes, I love my Wacom Cintiq, and I love the Apple Pro or Apple Pencil Pro or whatever they call it on the iPad Pro. Um, brush, I like a number 2 and a number 3 sable brush. And then I've got an assortment, but I like a variety of like lead holders, clutch pencils, whatever you want to call them, and mechanical pencils when I'm drawing. And then I've got a crazy assortment of erasers that I'll go through when I'm working on stuff.
Yeah, man. I've never seen an artist work, so it's just blowing my mind just kind of coming up with these questions as I was coming up with this, and I'm like, what do I ask? So then I kind of got into some AI, and I was like, all right, I kind of like these, so I'm running with it. Um, what do you listen to while you draw? If you do, is it music, podcast? Are you just sitting in silence?
I can't sit in silence. I go
No
nuts
one
trying to do
can,
that.
right?
Yeah. Lately it's been music, but most of the time, like podcast or I don't know the best way to describe it. I love like just for example, I just watched Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm big in the whole Game of Thrones thing, so I love watching like the guys on YouTube, like New Rock Stars and Screen Crush and stuff, where they go through and
Break the
break down the
episode down.
episodes. Because I like learning the stuff of like, okay, there's cool Easter eggs, but I also like learning that process. I'm obviously very process oriented with doing this stuff. So like how they're telling the story and how they work stuff in. I don't know. I love that stuff, and it, I get a kick out of listening to it while I'm working. It's kind of like we can listen to it and kind of think about the stuff they're talking about, whatever. And occasionally I'll throw on a movie or something, find something on one of the streaming services to listen to. Um, Again, can't do the silence, so I gotta have something playing in the background.
Right. I don't think anyone can. I mean, I work in a
Yeah,
manufacturing shop. If it was dead nuts silent, I don't know if anybody would work.
right, right.
Most underrated comic or graphic novel that everyone should read, in your
Oh,
opinion.
ooh, uh, uh,
Because I might just go buy it. I don't know.
I'm trying to think. Uh, I don't know. I would say most of the stuff I've probably picked up and read and I like is probably not like underrated. I don't know.
Well, and you probably have some artist friends, so it's like you're reading their stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I could rattle off like I've been working with Murat for like the last decade. I like anything that Counterpoint puts out, go pick it up. And like I'll just rattle off some buddies. My buddy Rodney Fike, his company's called Hasm. They put out like I want to say they're like four different books that they've been trying to do. Um, so go check them out. It's Hazzum. Look them up. My buddy Nate Lovett, he's doing a couple different books. His most recent book's called Punk Rock Ninja. He's having a blast doing that. Uh, and then of course go pick up my book. But yeah, I mean, like that's the stuff that like I think I've kind of gotten into the most is because a lot of us have started delving into doing the Kickstarters and stuff where we all pretty much trade back and forth of like not only like what we're working on and reading and stuff like that, but also like we'll trade off and on working on each other's stuff and things like that. So like we're all kind of like I don't know feeding into each other basically when we're
Right.
doing this stuff.
Yeah. Like, so you guys are kind of doing like your own type of stories. You're not basing it off a big name and so on and so forth, are you?
Right, right.
Yep.
Like all of us, we've I think everybody has like stories they kick around in their head and be like, okay, I want to tell this kind of story. Yeah, you might
Hmm.
have like a basis of you watched a TV show, a movie, a cartoon, whatever, where it's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if so and so did that, and then it evolves and it turns into your own thing. And I think for a lot of us, that's where it kind of like starts is like that imagination and building the stories and things. So like all of us have had numerous different things kicking around in our heads where it's like, okay, we got to put this on paper, some way, shape, or form. Um, and it's I think for all of us that struggle of finding enough time to do it to get all those ideas out. And there's never enough time to get all of them out.
Never. I know. All right. One piece of advice for the kid drawing on the back of their math book right now.
Don't stop. Just keep doing it. Um, uh, my myself, my wife were prime examples of like we would do that. Like she got in trouble for it. I got lucky. I didn't usually get in trouble for like drawing on the notebook. Sitting in class because I could usually like do that while I was waiting for like the next thing that I actually had to jot down for the note or whatever. Um, but keep at it if it's something you want to pursue and you love doing it or whatever. Just keep practicing, keep doing that thing, and learn as much as you can about what aspect of whether it be wanting to draw comics or work on cartoons or whatever. Just learn all that stuff you can about that thing and dive into it.
Yeah. So did you do any type of like schooling? Did you do any like
Um,
graphics arts or like you just
so
kind of ran with it and did it?
a bit of both. I did go
Okay.
to school. I got my bachelor degree in fine art. Um, I really wanted to go off and go to like School of Visual Arts or something where they actually had like a comic book program at the time, but it just was astronomically expensive and there's no way I could do it. So I went to a state university. It was close enough to home. Did that. Um, I was fortunate enough. I had a couple of good teachers, instructors, what have you, that knew what I wanted to do. Like they took time to listen, do the conversation. It's like they didn't offer anything comic oriented until like I think my like third semester where they finally started doing a sequential art class. Um, and honestly, at one point, the teacher asked me to talk about some of the stuff because they didn't know what they were doing because it was new to them, and it was like, okay, we need to add this. Now it's like most of the schools do offer stuff in comic books and stuff like that, but I took drawing, painting, I did like a couple, I think it was like a couple graphic design classes, what have you, that seemed like it would be
Right.
useful in diving into stuff. But that gave me some good foundations in some stuff, but a lot of it either had to teach myself or I've been fortunate enough to have some really great friends that I've worked with over the course of doing this, where I've either like taken the time to ask the questions and sit down and like learn from them, or kind of like learning through osmosis of just because I've been working so closely with friends or what have you, um, just picking up stuff along the way of like, oh, here's a better way of doing this thing that I've been doing, or We all try to give each other feedback when we're doing stuff of like, hey, move this or do that, or hey, it'd be cooler if this were bigger, those kind of things that we all try to like help each other out on. That
They're like your
it's always,
proofreader.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a like never ending process of like learning this stuff. You're never gonna have it 100% right. There's always going to be ways you can do it, different ways of looking at it. Um, so it's like kind of one of those things where it's like because this is commercial art oriented, it's do the thing, get it done, meet the deadline, what have you, and learn from it and find a way to do it better the next time.
Right.
And a lot of us, we always struggle with getting stuck of like, oh, this thing doesn't look perfect. Can't always be perfect. It's gotta fit the need and that time frame. And like I said, we all struggle with it at times where it's like sit there and keep erasing it or redoing it or what have you. It's no, gotta hit that deadline. So it's like gotta call it done, and again you learn from it, and for the next time around.
So would you say you got a lot of you guys are like trying to be perfectionists?
Oh yeah, yeah. Whether we all want to admit to it or not, yes. Some of us are better at not being perfectionists than others, or being very better uh, at just being like, nope, I'm done, tapping out.
Just get it out of my
Yeah,
face.
exactly, exactly.
Just go print it, please. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, who was I would ask this, who was like one of your biggest mentors within the whole comic scene and gang?
So I've got a few. My buddy Josh Metters, he and I became really close friends. Um, and not to go too crazy into like a backstory, but um, he battled cancer for a number of years, and he got to the point where like he didn't like sitting home alone working, and so he's like, "Hey, we just come hang out. We'll work. We'll set up a studio and work throughout the day." So I did like 2 or 3 days a week. I would go out. We would hang out. We would work, and I learned a ton of stuff from him. I want to say he was like 6 years older than me, so
Okay.
he had more experience in doing some of this
Right.
stuff, and all that kind of thing. And so like we would sit there and we bounce ideas off of each other. We would pick each other's brains, that kind of thing. And I learned a ton from him. And then because of him, I met so many other creators in the industry where like I picked up work, and again along the way learned stuff from different folks that I've worked with. And then I would say again, I've probably mentioned him enough times tonight, but working with Murat, he's taught me a ton of stuff, not just art related stuff, but the business stuff and all the little like minutia of stuff that goes on in doing this. Where
Right.
it's he's had a number of years experience doing this, that I'm still always able to learn more stuff as I do this. And he's great at being able to pass along the wisdom of like do this instead, or here's a better way to do this, or here's the new thing that we're trying to do. What again, whatever it does,
Right. Yeah.
it's every day it's pretty much learning something new. Even if it's just like the tiniest little thing, there's still something always that can be figured out with doing this stuff.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. I mean, I could only imagine. I mean, I'm no artist, trust me. But I mean, I got creative ideas, but I ain't drawing it. That's for dang sure.
Right, right.
Like, I mean, part of this stuff behind me, like that was a concept art that I just thought in my mind and kind of just took a bunch of different things and said, "Hey, let's run with it," you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean
So, here we are.
that is the creative process. I mean, that's how a lot of this stuff starts. That's how a lot of this stuff continues to go.
Well, I don't know how long I was trying to do a podcast and like all this and that, and then you find a group of guys that are into like collecting things, doing different things. Me, I don't care. I'll sit here and talk to somebody for hours. I'm all about like a connection and networking. Like it's just that's just who I've always been, right? um so yeah, I was just like, guys, it's not that hard if once we find the right resources to do it, you know boom, it doesn't take much, and it's really that simple. I was like, I couldn't believe it, you know? But so like what's some of the artwork that you have done that might be on a big name scheme? So Marvel, DC, have you done anything for either of those besides the sketch cards? Or have you worked with anybody within one of those comics?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
For Marvel, I did Spider-Man Kids book. That was it was still like published to a third party, but I did get to work on that, and it was really early on, so it was like a fun experience of like, ooh, hey, I did something for Marvel. Um, I've done color work and cover work for a variety of different stuff through like Image and Dynamite. Um, some have been stuff I was hired to do. Okay, so the whole reason I met Marat Michaels was just by an off chance, like stupid happenstance. I was at San Diego Comic Con, like 12 years ago, I guess it was, somewhere in that ballpark. The night before I left for the con, a buddy of mine tagged me in a post on Facebook. Rob Liefeld was looking for a colorist. It's like, okay, I'll take my color samples. I'm not going to hold my breath, whatever. It's, it was it was Saturday of the show, and it was Saturday and Sunday. Everything was done, so it was like, okay, I got it. I was set up with a buddy over in Small Press, and for anybody that hasn't been to San Diego Comic Con, Artist Alley and Small Press are the furthest possible things apart on the show floor. It is literally like I want to say like it's like more than a quarter mile apart inside the building. I might be exaggerating, but at the same time,
Where
I don't really think I am.
where is that held?
It's at the San Diego Convention Center,
So a
San Diego,
massive just
California.
industrial building.
Yeah, it's huge. Like I think legit is it's got to be at least like quarter mile or longer between these two spaces. So my wife and I are sitting there talking, and my buddy's like, just go do it. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I take my samples. I go over to I figure out where Rob is on the map, figure out his table number, and I go over there, and he's not there. And I'm like, ah, okay, what am I gonna do? And then I'm standing there, I probably look like a idiot, and it happens to be that Marat's sitting next to him, and I recognize his name, and I know they had worked together, but that's the extent of what I was aware of. And he's like, can I help you out? And I was like, is Rob here? Is he coming back? He's like, no, he already left for the day. I think he went off with family or something like that. And he's like, did you need something? I was like, well, I saw he was looking for a color, so I'm just wanting to hand off samples. And he's like, well, the same guy that left him left me. He's like, let me see what you got. So I handed my samples, and he's like, okay, I think I got some work for you. He's like, well, we'll chat. And he's like, come back tomorrow. Rob will be here sometime tomorrow. So Sunday rolls around. It's like, okay, I got to make my way away from the table and get back over there. And again, if you've never been to Comic Con, that place is a nightmare to walk the show floor. And you got to go from one end to the other, and it's a pain. It
Crowded
takes
and
forever.
yeah.
Yeah, it's bobbing and weaving and trying not to
Yep.
get hit and all this stuff. So I make my way back over there through all the mess, and as I'm walking down the table, like Marat kind of like elbows him or taps him or something. He's like, "Hey, this is the guy that want to talk to you." And so hand off samples, and Rob's like, "I've got some stuff for you." He's like, "Well, we'll get in touch." I don't know. It's like a couple or a few weeks after the show, I reached back out, and he's like, "Yeah, I got some stuff. Just give me some time to put stuff together, what have you." And then at the same time, I think Marat and I were talking a little bit more, and he was sending me some stuff to start working on. I don't know, it's like I'll say like a month later, something like that. Rob hits me up. He's like, "Okay, hey, I got something for you. We're redoing Bloodstrike, and Carl Alstetter's doing the cover. You want to color it? I need it back tomorrow." Yeah, like get to work on an actual image title, work on an image cover, and like this is like the first foray into doing work with any of these guys, and it's like I'm
Right.
working with three different guys that were there at the very beginning of Image, and I'm like, all right, cool, like I get to do this, and yeah, like a couple months later, boom, there's an Image cover that I got to work on. Um, so I've got to do that. I've worked with Tim Seeley a handful of times on like some like not only his like creator owned stuff that he's been doing, but some other like various projects uh, that he was involved with one way, shape, or form. Mostly coloring his stuff, but ended up coloring two different short stories in a book that he did that was based on like basically his like action figures essentially. Um, so I've got to do some cool stuff like that where I've worked with guys that I not only have become friends with but admire their work and all this kind of stuff.
Right. That's kind of
Um,
cool though.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and for the last couple of years, off and on, I've worked with Coffin Comics coloring covers for the various Lady Death books and some of their other titles. Um, so yeah, I've gotten to dabble in a lot of those different things. And then last couple of years, I've done a handful of like the retailer variant exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
So you can like do your own exclusive through the various publishers. So I got to do with my local comic shop. We did an exclusive cover for Ryan Stegman's book at Image. I am totally blanking on the name of it right now. It'll come to me hopefully. Um, got to do a couple of Thundercats covers for Dynamite. Um, did a Red Sonja and Vampirella cover with my local shop, and then I did my own exclusive with Vampirella. Um, so yeah, I've got to dabble in all sorts of different stuff, and it's like the Thundercats was like the biggest thing that like that hit me, and it's like all right, I get to actually draw the Thundercats professionally and have some fun with it and do my thing. Um, and like even with doing that stuff, I worked with Chris Campana coloring some of his work. We did a Silverhawks cover, and we did Death Dealer, Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer. So it's like I actually got to do something that had Frank Frazetta's name on it. I was like, all right, cool. This is one of like the Grail things to work on, basically.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I like again,
Yeah,
I've
you're
gotten
pretty
very
broad.
lucky, very fortunate to work with a lot of great folks, work with a lot of really cool properties and stuff.
So how does that work then? So you have an artist that draws the outline and then they have someone color it then? Is
Yeah.
that basically
So
how it works?
yeah. So ever I'll say ever since the beginning, but I'm sure it's was not always this way. But basically, um, as far as I'm familiar with the beginning of comics, you have like three roles basically to like, finish the artwork. You got a penciler, this guy that does it in pencil. You got an inker, the guy comes in, adds ink. That role has changed a lot over the years, and then you've got a colorist, the person that comes in and colors it. Like I mentioned earlier, just like having be amazing to have the prowess of like what Jack Kirby was able to do, where he's working on like 4 books a month, and so he was penciling. He would draw the
He's
page
doing,
or the
yeah.
cover or what have you, and then would get passed off to. In that case, it probably got passed off to several inkers. There were probably multiple inkers working on each book because there's a big time factor in it. So it's basically like an assembly line.
Yeah.
So like to be able to crank out 20 some pages per month, it's very hard for one person to do it. It can be done, but
Right.
not ideal. So yeah, it's kind of the process that for the longest time has been the norm. But more and more, you see a lot of folks that ink their own work, or they actually ink and color their own work. It depends on the person. Digital has made it a lot more, I'll say, convenient for folks to be able to do all the work on their own. But it also kind of is a skill thing. Some folks just don't understand or don't know or don't want to take the time to learn, like say color theory. So
Yeah.
coloring's not their bag, or for whatever reason, maybe they just don't enjoy it. So um, that's the one thing that I've been fortunate to pick up a lot of work doing is because I did take painting classes in college. I love painting, learned a lot of color theory, and a lot of that stuff has come into play with what I do with doing the coloring work. But I've also again goes back to like the work ethic or whatever. I'm fast. That's what a lot of folks will brag about me is that I'm quick. I can turn stuff around pretty fast, and that plays in my favor with a lot of stuff. So it's the one thing that I can usually like pass along to somebody if they want to hire me for a project or whatever. It's like, yes, I can do X amount of pages a day, or I can have this to you within so many days or whatever the case is. Again, it all comes back to that whole thing of trying to hit that deadline and trying to, whether you're doing a monthly book or it needs to get to a printer or whatever the case is. um, that's that whole kind of assembly line mentality has been a pretty big factor in the whole thing since the beginning, as far as producing comic books anyway.
So is that where you see a lot of like three artists' names on comic book is from that, lining
Yeah,
to inking to coloring? Gotcha.
yeah.
That makes a little more sense. Now I get it. I'm like, how did three people do this? You know what I mean? But
Right, right.
now it's starting to click. Um, so yeah, let's see some of the work what you got. What do you got laying around over there?
Let's see, what can I grab?
I know I don't want to. I'm sure you probably got some MegaCon exclusive stuff that you can't share yet.
Oh no, actually, most of that stuff I can share. I just don't have any of it sitting with me because we've actually started packing. But I've been working on sketch covers not only as like commissions, but also to have like stock to sell per se. I just before we went
Nightwing.
live here or whatever, did the Nightwing, and then uh,
Is that Goblin?
Hobgoblin. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I've been like in between all the other stuff I've got going on my plate. I've been trying to knock out some extra sketch covers to take to have at the table to sell and that kind of thing. Um, but if anybody's inclined and want to check it out on all my social media or my store, we put up we've got an exclusive Do You Poo for MegaCon and then one for WonderCon, and then we're doing a little ash can preview of our book Scarlet Huntress meets Wendigo. It's the next issue in the book. So I did an exclusive for MegaCon and WonderCon. Each one's got a different cover to it. And for both of the Scarlet Huntress books, I asked a couple of buddies to come on ink the covers for me, because they'll be at those shows. So for MegaCon, my buddy Rodney Fike inked that cover for the show, but he's going with me to be my booth dude, as we put it. He's going to help me out doing the show. So it's like, well, let's do something so you can slap your autograph on some stuff while we were sitting there and have some
Right.
fun with it. And then for WonderCon, my buddy Jamie Snell, he's actually inking the interior pages for Scarlet Huntress. So I had him ink the cover for the ash can for there because he's actually going to be like 3 tables down from me. So it's like, we'll do up some extras, and you can have some to sell at your table, and hopefully we'll trade back and forth signing stuff and all that mess. We always try to find ways to like help each other out as we're
Right.
doing all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, let's find a way to bring people to our tables and like keep them interested, whatever.
Right. So how many signatures do you normally do at a con?
It
If
kind of
you had to
depends.
guess.
It's a very wide range. Like there'll be shows where it's like I'll like a dozen throughout the weekend, but then there'll be times where there's a retailer that has like 50 books, and they'll come back a few times. So it's cool. I love doing it. But it's just always kind of funny. Like I had an interesting experience at New York Comic Con this past October. Um, I was just standing at the table, like I usually, if I'm not working on anything or whatever, I'll just stand at the table, and people walk by, I'll say hi or whatever. And this gentleman comes up to the table, and he like basically dropped all of his stuff that he was holding. He had his like backpack, and I don't know if he had a box of books or whatever, but like he basically was like flabbergasted that I was there. And I'm sitting there, and he's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I didn't know you were going to be here." And he was like all excited. I'm sitting there going, "Do you have the wrong person?" He's like, "No, no." He's like, and then he pulls out his book, and he pulls out like all the Lady Death covers that Marat and I had worked on for like the last couple of years. And I'm like, okay, all right. So like, I'm like standing there like signing like 6 or 7 different books for him. But like he was just so excited and ecstatic that I was actually there because he didn't know I was going to be there. And it was a cool opportunity. I got to sign all the books for him and stuff, and like we took a photo and all that jazz. It was just kind of a goofy experience, but I'm like,
He was
are you
starstruck,
sure?
man.
Yeah, and I was like, are you sure you're at the right table?
You didn't want to be 5 tables down, right? Like, are you
Yeah,
positive? Uh,
right.
so, how many Comic Cons do you guys normally attend in a year?
I've cut way back on doing them in the last couple of years. Uh, right now, like this year, I've got three for sure planned. I'm hoping to add a fourth, maybe a fifth. See what happens with stuff. Um, but there's years where we've done like a dozen, something in that realm, and it gets brutal. Um, I just in order to like actually put out new stuff and whatever, I've tried to cut back for that. But also like my wife again, she teaches. She only gets like 3 personal days, so unless we're doing much stuff over summer, she can't always get out of work. So then it's like with like I said, going to MegaCon. My buddy Rodney's going with me because I need somebody to help out at the table because it gets to be a nightmare if I'm at the table by myself and I don't have somebody to like give me a hand with stuff because
Right.
I'll sit there and start drawing and forget that there's people
People there?
wanting to buy something or whatever, and it's like so it's I always have a little bit better time in the show if I've got somebody there with me. So kind of got to juggle that stuff with doing these things. But I'd like to do like 5 or 6 a year. That's usually seems like a pretty good number where it's like we can kind of divide up our time. We've been trying to find shows that we get to travel somewhere fun, something we haven't done, or get to do some kind of like new experience, whatever. And we've definitely fallen in love with the idea of we're going to do a WonderCon because it's across the street from Disneyland, so we'll spend a couple extra
Oh,
days at
no
Disneyland.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be fun.
yeah, we get a kick out of that. There's a group of us going with fellow creators, friends. I think there's 8 of us. We're all traveling out together. Where we got rooms in close proximity to each other and everything. So we're gonna go
So,
once
you
the
guys
con's over.
going out early and then trying to hit the parks before,
Um,
or
we're gonna do the parks after the con
okay?
because my wife's spring break starts like
Yep. All right.
after
Yep.
that weekend.
Yep.
So we're gonna go out the Thursday of that week, get set up, do the show Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Hopefully, go have fun in Disneyland and stuff, and then come back home.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
So, where are you based out of then? If you don't mind.
uh, just out, just outside of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. Which I get with the whole Scarlet. So you're an Ohio State fan?
No, it just happenstance. Um, it was trying to come up with a red color to go off the idea of Red Riding Hood, and it's like it just fit.
Yeah, it did. It
Um,
does fit.
but yes, I get that often, and it's like no.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't say much. I mean, I'm pretty much wearing where I'm from, so
The Detroit, I'm
yeah.
seeing that right.
I'm
Yeah.
in Michigan, but I'm in Western Michigan. But like,
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I
we know
grew
the
up.
team down south. You know.
Yeah, I grew up outside of Toledo, so I'm very familiar with
Oh, so
going
you're
to
pretty much
Detroit and everything.
Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even. The sad part is like I grew up a Notre Dame fan, so everyone despised me. You know,
Okay.
because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but there's one team that I'll always not root for, and it's Ohio State. But that's just because everyone hates Ohio State, and I'm from Michigan, so
And that's fair.
yeah. But um, so I don't know. I guess like, what other things do you have coming besides WonderCon and MegaCon then for this year?
San Diego Comic Con in July. We'll hopefully have a Kickstarter up for the new book. Sometime spring, summer, somewhere in there as I wrap up pages. Um, and then beyond that, it's kind of a toss up right now because I've been taking so much time trying to work on getting the book done. I haven't like pursued a whole lot of other stuff. Um, so that'll be kind of a little bit of like the like scouting mission with doing these shows. Will be trying to hopefully pick up some other stuff along the way, and it'll basically just be getting everything ready to go to Comic Con. That thing is it is a gauntlet. It's not only just because the show is like a week long, but it's like trying to get all the stuff ready for it. I'll have some new exclusives for that show, hopefully, if everything goes well. Um, Hopefully, I have the new book. We'll have some sort of like the last couple of years we've done like a button and stickers and stuff to go with the book. So I'll probably be putting some stuff together for that. Um,
You ever been to any of the Comic Cons up in Michigan?
I used to go to Motor City Comic Con
Yeah.
pretty
Okay.
religiously. I haven't been back up there since I want to say like 2016, maybe it was last year we did it. Um, but I used to do it. That was actually the second convention that I went to ever when I was in high school. When I was trying to drive my parents nuts with I wanted to get into doing this and blah blah. Begged, borrowed, pleaded, whatever to go to Wizard World Chicago for the first time. I think it was the summer between my like junior and senior year of high school because I wanted to go do the portfolio reviews and all this mess and drove them nuts to do that. And then um, once doing that, it was like okay, there's one in just outside of Detroit. That's
Mm-hmm.
like 2 hours drive. Can we go there? And did that, and I started going to that pretty frequently. And that was actually the first convention I set up at. I think it was the like spring 2004 Motor City, and did it like I said pretty religiously up until like 2015, 2016, somewhere in that ballpark. Um, it just time wise and other stuff became a factor in it, and just haven't made it back up that way, unfortunately. But we usually will like hit Chicago. We've done Baltimore a number of times, New York. We've been to Boston. Um, would like to try to go hit some other stuff. Like, unfortunately, this year so many shows all piled up on the same weekends.
I was gonna say I've seen
Uh,
a lot of Comic Con like drop dates, like just either they're like week after week, or and I mean I could only imagine for you, you got to travel with all your stuff. I
yeah,
mean, but for like just even a single person, if you're trying to hit all these different Comic Cons, like yeah,
yeah, it's nutty. Like this year, so like um, I'm sure there's another show going on the same weekend as MegaCon, but then like immediately that next weekend, WonderCon, C2E2, Planet Comic Con, and Lexington Comic Con are the four that I'm aware of that are all that same weekend. And I'm sure there's others that I probably it's probably not on my radar or whatever. But like that in a way kind of hurt because we would normally go to WonderCon and then go and do C2E2 because Chicago's not a horrible drive for us, and we love doing the show. We've got a lot of friends out there, um, but because it was like, okay, we got to choose, and it's like, well, we're going to Disneyland because it's spring break.
right.
It's like that was like that was what we're
and
doing.
it's sunny out there,
Yeah,
during that time of
exactly,
year, whereas
exactly.
it could be snowing in Chicago.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that's our kind of no brainer pick. Like that's what we're doing. Um, so yeah, it's like there's those kind of struggles that come into play with like trying to plan this stuff out. It's like sometimes just logistics is just a nightmare because you've got like even coming up in fall, like we're looking at hopefully going back to New York. We did the application. We'll find out in like July if we're doing it. But it's like a week apart from Baltimore, and it's like I would love to go back to Baltimore. I like the city. I like going doing it. Got friends that go and do that one pretty consistently, and it's like we got to pick and choose. Sometimes it's not a fun game to play of like having to cut one out or trying to make that trek that's a pretty good drive or flight or whatever to shows that are a weekend apart. Um, and I don't know, it's I don't know a bit of a struggle at times of just trying to figure out like okay what's going to be our best option, and then sometimes there's no way of knowing what's going to be that like best option because it's so unpredictable as to what could happen at any one of those things.
Right. So do you normally drive or do you normally fly?
Most of the time we'll drive if it's within like I'll say a six
Couple
hour drive.
hours. Yeah, a few
Yeah, like
hours.
six has been kind of like my max. That's like our drive to Chicago. Like I think it's like maybe 8 to go to Baltimore. That like any more than that, we're both like no, this is it's not comfortable. It's just not fun to sit in the car that long. So we'll fly. So I'll be flying to everything so far that we've got planned for this year. Um, and and when you've got all the suitcase regulations where it's like you're maxed out at 50 pounds,
Yeah, I was gonna
it's
say, how's the logistics look on that? You know, like how many suitcases are you bringing, and how many different are you shipping stuff down to a local shop or what?
so far I've not done the shipping stuff since our I think it was our second year of doing Comic Con. Our horror story of why we stopped shipping stuff was like we would the first year we did it. It was we were absolute noobs. We had no idea what we were doing going and doing Comic Con for the first time. My buddy and I signed up on a whim. It's like we'll see if we get in, and we're just gonna wing this whole thing. And we did, and we decided, well, like there's so many, it's 100 and some thousand people are going there. Even if we get a fraction of those people at the table, like what are we gonna do? So we printed up postcards and business cards and I don't know whatever other nonsense.
Hmm.
We packed a moving box full of stuff and sent it UPS or FedEx out to the hotel. And I think we sent some of our books. It was like anything we thought that we weren't going to be able to fly with, we just put in a box and we shipped it out there. And whatever we got left, we'll ship it back. We did. And the first year was fine. And went to the hotel, called down to the front desk after we got checked in. Gentleman brings it up to the room on a hand truck. We're good to go. No worries, no nothing. And when we were done with the show, there was actually a FedEx thing inside the convention center. We just packed all the stuff up, took it over there, and paid him to send it home. Cool. Second year we do it, we did the same thing. That was our plan. It's like, okay, it worked last year. Let's do it again. UPS store took over their shipping and receiving, and they held our packages hostage for a
Oh,
few hours and argued with us because we shipped them to the hotel, and they were like, yeah, well, we handle the shipping and receiving. We need $50 a box. Now, mind you, the boxes had made it there only a couple hours before we did. My buddy was just fuming. I think he shipped two boxes and I shipped a box. They wanted $150 for three boxes of stuff that had been sitting there for a couple hours.
that's
He was
crazy.
he was just like to the point where I was like literally like grabbing him on the shoulders, like, calm down, we'll figure out something.
Just give us the stuff in the box. Y'all can keep the box.
Right. So like finally after he just kind of like he stayed pretty calm, but like I could see like the steam was ready to start
Yeah.
bursting out of his ears. He like finally told him like look, what's it gonna take? Like we get our stuff, whatever, and he finally talked him down to $50 for all three boxes. So they got their payment, and we basically wrote that off ever again of having to ship something to wherever we're going. Thankfully now I've got friends in the areas that are always like, well, if you need stuff, go ahead and ship it. I don't live that far away. I'll just bring it to you. Blah blah blah. So like that is an option if I ever need to do that. But like I was saying, there's eight of us making this trek out to go to California, and it's all couples. So it's like all of our wives, like my wife, she's gonna have our suitcases full of all of our junk,
Hmm.
and so we're our buddies, but most of the time it's like they still have an opening. It's like, all right, we're gonna pay for that extra bag. Can you do this as your second bag so that we can get another box of books or something? And like my buddy is bringing his daughter, and like last year she got stuck with like somebody's suitcase. It's like you just gotta like take this as your carry on for a little bit. We'll get it once we get off the plane. But last year there were seven of us, and we ended up with like I'm trying to think how many bags we had. It was just ridiculous. We took a photo when we got there because like each one of us was carrying a carry on, either a duffel bag and a giant suitcase or two giant suitcases. Plus we all had backpacks. It was ridiculous. But it was like that's what we needed to get all the stuff there because we got to take our banner stands. We got to take all of our product. We got to take
Yeah, because you guys get
drawing
a
supplies.
table, right? They provide the
Yeah,
table, but you got to give
provide
all
the
your
table.
backdrop and all the banners and
Yeah.
tablecloths and
Well, and
product.
with WonderCon, we found out the hard way our very first time doing it. You only get one chair, and it's like it can't be that bad to go get another chair, right? I go to the like help desk or whatever. the gentleman was working there, and it's like, how do I get another chair? He kind of like, nods me to come over to the side past the table, and he's like, you don't want to get a chair from us. He's like, there's a CVS down the street, and I'm sitting there like, oh, what? And he's like, it's $125 for a chair, and I'm sitting there like,
For just a steel chair?
okay, yeah, this is a plain, the steel frame, plastic, uncomfortable,
Yep.
awful convention chair. He's like, yeah, it's $125, and he's like go down to CVS, buy a chair, and throw it away before you go home. He's like, it's gonna be better. I'm like, okay. I go back and I tell my wife, and she's like, what? I like, yeah. So thankfully that year, a buddy of mine was set up in small press, and he wasn't using the extra chair. And I was like, look, dude, I'll buy you dinner. And he's like, go for it. So I grabbed the chair, and as I grab the chair, I have to walk by the help desk guy, and he's like, cover his face. I didn't see anything. I'm like, no, no, no. This is legit. I got permission. So now we take like a little fold up chair or something with us that we got to pack in all of our junk, so we don't either have to go buy a chair when we get there or have to rent one for a ridiculous amount of money.
That's crazy. $125 for a chair.
Yeah. Right?
Oh man, they're robbing you guys blind out here.
Yeah, it's nuts. But I mean, it's because, the chair's got to be carried out by somebody from the back. They got to bring it on a dolly and come out and bring it there, and you're renting it for the weekend, and all the just
I
garbage
get
stuff
it,
that
but
goes with it.
holy
But yeah,
cow.
yeah, it
That's
was bizarre. But we learned our lesson real quick. It's like, yeah, we're gonna pack something. We'll make this work. So we've
surprised you
got like,
guys ain't got campfire chairs.
well, we did that. We did that the second time we went out, but those things sit so low to the ground.
Yeah.
It's awful trying to set a table. So we were wandering around IKEA one weekend, and they had a chair in their like markdown section or whatever they call it, and um, it's only got a few screws to it, so we take that apart and take it with us. We've got a chair that we take apart. We throw it in our duffel bag with our banner that we've got a little electric screwdriver we put together real quick, and boom, we've got a chair for the weekend.
Hey, it's easy enough, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Way better than $125.
Right, right. I think it was like $25 at IKEA.
Gotta love IKEA.
Right?
I ain't got one of those here, but gotta love IKEA.
Yep.
All right. Well, I mean, it was good talking to you, Sean. If you are ever up here, let me know. I'd love to stop in and check you out. Or if I make my way anywhere near Chicago or Ohio.
Yeah, I'll see what happens. There's going to be a GalaxyCon in Columbus in December. I've done it. I didn't do it last year, but a couple years before that, I've been doing it. So I might see if I can get a space there. If you're free at the beginning of December, I'll try to keep you posted. And if we do anything closer up that way, I'll definitely let you know if we got anything going.
All right. Yeah, I'll keep in touch for sure, and I'll keep a lookout on your socials. Just because, I mean, yeah, I want to come check it out. I haven't been to a Comic Con. I just recently, to be completely honest, started with the whole comic scene. Um, just because I don't know, I found the art a little bit more as I'm aging. I'm still young, but still like just the art factor, and I don't know what it is about it. It's just now starting to collect in my mind, like, and I think it's just because I've always been, you know, superhero related, as a kid, and now actually looking at the art factor of it, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. I have adult money now, so
There you go.
I'm not asking mom and dad for any more money. I'm just gonna go do it myself.
There you
Um,
go.
but yeah, for sure, I definitely would like to check it out if it ain't crappy weather out. That's for sure. Because for
Right,
me,
right.
that's a 6 hour trip.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, if you're anywhere in, obviously there's a mix. You got Chicago, Indiana. I don't know. Does Indiana do one? Astro?
Yeah.
Is that where Astro's at?
That I don't know. I know Indiana has like two or three conventions in like northern
Like your
Indiana,
South
and
Bend, Fort Wayne areas and stuff like that, I
yeah,
think.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure there's a couple of shows that still go on in that area. There might still be one in Indianapolis. I can't remember. Um, but yeah, and that's something I need to look into because it's not that far of a drive to make it to any of those, and kind of hit a different area. So yeah, I'll definitely keep you posted if I do anything, and I'll definitely post stuff on social media once I know that we got a show coming up or whatever. But
for sure.
nice to meet in person and all that, and
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I know a buddy of mine and I have been talking about doing the one here in Grand Rapids, and I think there's another one in Kalamazoo, but they claim it as a Grand Rapids Comic Con too as well.
okay.
But we're probably gonna hit a couple of those, just because we hit the podcast up and running and whatnot. So we're gonna potentially go check those out. Maybe make our way over to the east side of the state at some point in next couple of years.
Nice, nice.
So yeah, it's moving. I got one buddy who's into horror, so I don't know. He's a little character from time to time.
Yeah.
So like hearing
Everybody's
his
got one of
side,
those in the group.
oh man, and I don't even. It cracks me up because it's like he's a huge collector. Like the whole family's collectors, and it's like, man, y'all a bunch of hoarders too. Like, holy cow! Like y'all just keep going. Like I don't get it. His uncle's got like a $88,000 comic collection just wrapped up into his house, and I'm like, some of the stuff I've seen. I mean, if you check out, I think our episode 4, we had him on, and he was like showing some
Okay.
of the artwork and some of the comics he's got. And I'm like, oh man, that's what really drove me after seeing some of his stuff. I was like, all right, I'm going variant art. That's all I want. Like some of the standard art is cool, but variant art is where it's at in my eyes right now. But for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna keep tabs on you for sure. If you want, I'm willing. You can drop a plug to all your socials or anything like that on here. More power to you. We'll definitely tag you in this video for sure as well. So
I appreciate it. Yeah, if anybody wants to check it out, all my social media is at Sean Forney Art. Made it super simple. So if you find one, you link to all of them. And I try to respond to stuff pretty quickly on all those. So, feel free to hit me up with anything.
yeah, you were quick on my response.
Yeah, you caught. I think I want to say it was you caught me in the morning when we spoke. What was that last week or
Huh?
yeah, whatever. You hit like just at the right time. Like I think I was like still getting set up in the studio and stuff. So it was like perfect timing.
Yeah. And I just had came up with the idea. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this other one too. I was like, I need somebody because like I was like, I can't have comics be the main like background of the main podcast. We want it all collectibles. So I was like, yep, nope, I'm going to do my own. I'm going to split this and make it an umbrella portion of the main. You know, I just, from sports cards to comics now, I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to take it over from here. All my other guys, one's a horror personnel, the other one's like Pokemon, 100% Pokemon. So it's like,
Nice.
we're kind of a very broad group, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's fun. It's definitely been fun over the last 7 weeks so far. So I'm hoping that we
Awesome, man.
continue to grow as we go. And who knows? Who knows where we'll be? Maybe we'll be there just chilling at a Comic Con. Next thing, card shows. Who knows? Hopefully the connections come through and we have a big network, hopefully, at some point.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely hit up the shows. A lot, if you're not familiar with it, a lot of them have press badges. You guys are doing a podcast. Hit them up. You apply and you send them like your credentials, basically. Sometimes
Really?
that's a free
That's how it
pass.
works?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the conventions will
Give me
have
the insights.
like just whatever convention you're looking at. If they do that kind of thing, they will have a section of their site devoted to like press and pro badges and stuff. Or if you can't find the stuff, email the show. I mean, it's always worth
Hmm.
it. Tell them what you do. You've got the proof that you've put out X amount of episodes, whatever. Send them the link. yeah, you get a pass to get in. If it's not free, it's like discounted or whatever.
Right.
You do some coverage of the show. You can interview folks while you're there. Um, yeah, definitely dive into it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into it after this now. Thanks for
Yeah,
giving me some insight.
absolutely, man.
This is what I needed.
Yeah,
All right. Well, it was a pleasure speaking to you, Sean. I appreciate you stopping on for the first episode over here at Slabs and Sketches. And yeah, we'll definitely catch everybody off on to the next one. So